All right, welcome back. We're in Module 11, and here in Module 11, we're gonna take a look at Chapter 11 in the textbook. And Chapter 11 in the textbook, we're gonna talk about databases. We're gonna talk about all this stuff here. You can pause the video and take a look at it. We're gonna talk about all this stuff here. You can pause the video and take a look at that also, if you would like. So let's just start right at the very beginning, and we're gonna explain what a database is and why databases are useful. And so I'll give you just my explanation of that, and then we'll go to ChatGPT and see what ChatGPT has to say about it. But a database is a place where data is stored. It's a base. It's a base for data. And a base could be like home base, right? And I mean like home base, like it's my home. Or a base could be like a military base, right? And it's a base. And it's a place where the military is stored. Or my home base is where my home is stored, my family's stored, right? It's where I put all my family stuff. Military base is where a country puts all of its military stuff. A database is where we put all of our data stuff. So a database stores data. What is data? So data is anything, right, that is like some piece of information that you want to have stored. Traditionally, information data was stored on paper, and so to store stuff on paper, that was problematic, and it was laborious. And so everybody, like in the old days, you'd go to the doctors and you had paper records. And so they'd bring out paper and they'd write stuff down about you, and then they put it into a file, a little folder, and then they'd stick it in a filing cabinet. And then when you came back to the doctor, they'd go to the filing cabinet, they'd open it up, they'd pull out your folder, and they'd say, what's going on with you? Well, that's kind of a laborious way to store a bunch of data. One, that data is kind of hard to access, right? And two, it could get more easily lost. And three, you can't really back it up easily. So if the building burns down, all your files burn down, your data's all gone. And then four, it's hard to really get information out of that data or use that data in different ways. So that's the old way, storing things on paper, storing it in filing cabinets. And the new way is everything is digital. It's all stored in computers, and then all of that gets stored like somewhere. And it's beneficial to have all of that data stored electronically, digitally in computers. So for instance, if we're the medical office, we could say, hey, let's email all of our customers that haven't been here in the last year. And we could go through and ask the database, show me all the customers who haven't been here in a year, and it'll give me a list of those customers. And I could say, show me all the customers who haven't been here in a year and who live in this zip code. And it'll give me those customers. I could email those customers. And I could write different emails for different people in different zip codes. And so database really allows you to sort through your data really quickly and to ask for certain types of data and to find information, to get information out of all of your data, So to illustrate that, in the old way, if I wanted to know, like if I had filing cabinets full of paper, and I wanted to reach out to all of the customers who hadn't been in the office in a year, I'd have to look at every record. When was the last time they were in? Nope, they were here 3 months ago. Put that back in the file. Pull out the next one. And there might be thousands of records. And that's going to take weeks, right, to have a secretary or somebody do that. An office attendant, office worker, do something like that. It's going to take a long time. And so electronic databases are much more efficient. You have more access to all the information. You could filter the information. You could pull out certain information really easily. You could also really easily back up the information. So with all the data stored in a database electronically in a computer, we could also pay for some service where the information is just over the web electronically transferred to some computer in the cloud, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and then all the data is also stored over on that computer. So if the computers in our office all got destroyed, a fire or a flood or a tornado or something like that, all the data is still stored over there on Microsoft, Google, Amazon's computers. It's backed up. And so hard to back up data that is paper records. That said, it also makes it easier for a thief to steal the data. They could come in, put it all onto some removable hard drive, and they're off with it. If they wanted to steal the paper data, they're going to have to bring a moving truck and dollies and load up all the filing cabinets, right? So it makes it easier for data to be stolen when it's digitized. Though you have protections in computers to make that prevent that from happening. So that's what databases are, and that's why they're useful. And if we take this and we put this into ChatGPT, and I go here, I've got databases types overview, but we'll put that in, and it will generate a response here. And we'll pause this so you could take a gander at it. And so here's the first part. You can look at this first part and pause the video and read it. And then I'll scroll down and you can read this next part. And then I'll scroll down and you can read this next part. And then I'll scroll down and you can read this next part. And that's all of it, right? So scalability, automation, data integration, data security, multi-user access, easy data retrieval, data consistency and integrity and efficient data storage, right? And data schema, database management systems, and SQL query language. This is all stuff you should know. So let's go through it. So data is the actual information stored, text, numbers, images. And schema is the blueprint or design of how the data is organized. And so here is schema right here. And let's take a moment to kind of take a gander at that. And so here we're looking at how the data is stored in a relational database. And a relational database, we have three tables here. We have a customers table, which is this stuff there. And we have a rentals table, which is that stuff here. And then we have a movies table, which is this stuff here. And each of these tables has records. So record 1, record 2, record 3, record 4, record 5, record 6. And each table has records, and each table has fields or columns. So here's the CID field, here's the C first field, and every record is going to have a unique ID, which is why this is called the customer ID, CID. This is called the rental ID, RID. This is called the MID, which stands for movie ID. And that way we uniquely identify each record. And this is important because when we create relationships between the data, we're going to use this unique ID to identify which record we're referring to. So here, the unique ID 5 is referring to this record here, which is Minnie, right? Is the first name in this record. And so this is record 5, and record 5 stores the information for the customer Minnie. And so we could do stuff like here in transaction 1, rental transaction 1, and notice these are unique numbers here, right? The customer that made this first rental transaction is Minnie. Minnie is customer 5, and here we're storing customer 5 made this first rental transaction. What did they rent? What was the movie ID that they rented? They rented movie ID 2, which is American Beauty. And so here, this first rental transaction, Minnie rented American Beauty. And here we're creating relationships between different tables. This is the schema of how we're organizing the storage of our data. And notice we're minimizing data redundancy. So when Minnie comes in to make a rental, we're not typing in Minnie here, which would create confusion, because what if there was 2 or 7 or 32 or 1,000 different Minnies? We'd be like, which Minnie rented this? Here we could go and we could look, oh, Minnie at record number 5 rented it. And in a realistic application, the customers table would have more fields in addition to first name. There'd be last name, there'd be phone number, there'd be address, there'd be credit card, and we have all this information about Minnie, about this customer, in our customers table as one record. And then we always, we don't have to question which Minnie was making that transaction. And in addition, we're minimizing the data that's being stored here for every rental transaction. All we enter is the customer ID, right? We're not entering all their other stuff. We only enter their stuff once, and we enter it once in the entry, in the record for that customer in the customer table. That's the only time we enter the customer data, one place. So if we ever need to update the customer data, we update it in one place. And so we're minimizing the amount of data that's being stored, right? And the amount of data that's being used. And that keeps our storage volume lower, also keeps our data more reliable, because we only have one place to update a record if we need to update it. So that's the schema. That's the schema for how the data is organized, the blueprint or design of how the data is organized. Database management system is software that allows you to build databases. And so in our class, we use MS Access, and it's database software for helping us create databases and tables and create relationships. And we had a hands-on exercise on that, and so you learned a little bit about that already. And then SQL is a query language, and it's a language that we can use to ask questions of the database. Can you please show me all the customers who haven't been here in a year? And we could ask that question, and it'll show us those records. So we do that in SQL. So databases are useful because they allow us to manage, organize, and process data across various fields. It allows us to efficiently store data, right? It allows us to store that data with consistency and integrity. So we can enforce rules, constraints, relationships to ensure, we can validate data when it's being entered to ensure that the data is accurate, consistent, reliable. Like sometimes when you fill out forms online, it says choose your state or choose your city, and it's a drop-down list. You can't type it in. That's data validation. That's making sure that anytime somebody chose a state, it's California, California, and it's not California because somebody mistyped, right? So when we ask a query of the database with SQL and we say, show me everybody in California, like there's only one way California has been entered into the database, and everybody that data is valid. It's been validated, right? There's only one choice you can make when you enter California. That's it. That's your one choice. So consistency, integrity of data. We could easily retrieve data and back up data. Multiple users can access the data. We could secure the data in many ways, digitally that are different than securing file cabinets. We can integrate the database with other programs and software. We could scale how much data we're storing pretty easily, and we can automate stuff with databases. So those are all the benefits of databases. Different types of databases. We have flat databases. So a flat database is just like a spreadsheet, and I'm just looking here. So what is that? Aptitude test? I have no idea what's on that spreadsheet, so I'm just going to open this one. So here is a flat database, right? We could enter names here. So our first field could be first name. Our next field could be last name. And it's basically like a table in a relational database, but you only have one of them. And so you're just going to enter all your records here, right? And you have columns, which in database terminology are called fields. And you have rows, which in database terminology are called records. So we have fields, 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 and rows, 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 and rows. And this is a flat database file. It's just like a spreadsheet. So I'm going to get rid of that one and then delete it from here because I don't need it. And that's a flat database. And then you can read about it here, whoop, right there. And then relational databases would be like a bunch of different spreadsheets, a bunch of different tables, but we could connect them together. So this is like this image here. That's a relational database. And there's a great relational database class on campus, CIT 28, where you learn SQL. And then we have object-oriented databases, and these are databases that work well with object-oriented languages, and they're great at storing like objects, which is why they're called object-oriented databases, like a picture or a movie. And so you could store these different, or computer-aided design files, you could store these different objects. And then you have multi-dimensional databases, which is like these spreadsheets, but in addition to a column and a row, you also have depth. So you could think about that as like over time, maybe X, Y, Z, if you've taken math, and that's a multi-dimensional database. And there's a nice picture of that, which I have no idea where it just went and what that just happened. I have no idea what I just clicked. So that's interesting, flat, relational, and what did I click? I'm not sure what I clicked. Anyhow, hold on, I gotta figure this out. Wait 1 second. So it looks like I regenerated a response. I've got 2 of 2 here, right? And so that first response here, there's 1 of 2 and 2, 2. So I hit this switch model, and I think I hit try again, and it just regenerated. I kind of like the first response. It was good enough, but it regenerated it. So those are the different types of databases, and flat, relational, object-oriented, multidimensional, and then dynamic web-created data is managed in database. So everything you see online, it's all stored in database. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, which used to be Twitter, right? Like that's all stuff people are like, oh, they post, and then that gets stored in a database. And then when you go to those social media sites, you see your feed, and it's like all things you're interested in. They're pulling out that data from a database and they're putting it in your feed so you look at it. It's all going in and out of databases. How are relational databases organized and define data? We just looked at that here. Describe how data is input and managed in a database. You know, like we put data validation on form fields, and people enter information and data into forms, and then it gets fed into the database and stored in tables, and it's managed by people who are paid to manage databases. And you know, you want to validate it, make sure it has integrity and all that. Explain what data warehouses are and data marts and how they are used. So data warehouse is just like a business might have so much data that they aren't using it in their day-to-day operations, but they don't want to get rid of it, so they put it out in a place called a data warehouse, which is just like some place anywhere. It could be Microsoft, Google, or Amazon, right? They all have big cloud services. Or it could just be computers that are in their office where they just have computers with a lot of hard drives where they're storing all this data. That'd be referred to as a data warehouse with all their data. And then a data mart, I'm not quite sure what a data mart is. I think it's just like a little section of a data warehouse, some of the data from the data warehouse. It's kind of a weird name. And so data warehouse and data marts, centralized repositories for storing and managing large volumes of data. Data warehouse is a large centralized repository, stores data, and then data mart's a smaller, more focused version of data warehouse. There we go. Hold on one second. All right, I'm back and I'm recording. So that's a data warehouse and a data mart. And then mining is like looking through data for valuable relationships, just like you might mine for gold or diamonds in the physical world. You could mine data. You could go data mining and try to find valuable pieces or connections or relationships between data, which in today's world could result in be valuable just like gold and diamonds are valuable. So that's data mining. To give you an example of it, let's just go to ChatGPT, but like maybe a supermarket would say, hey, when people come in and buy beer, what else do they normally buy? And you might realize they also buy salty snacks. And so you might put the salty snacks next to the beer aisle so that people who are coming in for beer are like, oh, I think I want some salty snacks with my beer. And so that's data mining. You can pause the video, you can read about it here. And you can pause the video and you can read about it here. And you can pause the video, read about there and here and here and here. I like these examples, and then here. So that's data mining. And the last thing is business information systems. And so there's many different types of business information systems. And again, let's just ChatGPT this because it's interesting. And we'll just do it here. So a TPS, transaction processing system. This is like a really amazing invention. So when I was growing up, if you went to the grocery store, there was somebody whose entire job, this was their career, was to be a cashier or a checkout clerk. And they were really fast at like, oh, what's the price on this? And they used to put stickers on every little thing you bought at the grocery store. This is $1.95. And they go, what's the price on this? $1.95. And then they'd move it down. And then they'd chit-chat with you while they were checking you out. And they're really good at typing in the price. And then they invented barcodes and scanners. And so with a barcode, you no longer needed somebody who had a higher level of skill, making sure they enter the right numbers. All you needed somebody to do to be a checkout clerk was to listen for the beep. Beep, 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 right? And when they heard the beep, okay, that's been scanned in. And then the beep automatically knows when it reads the barcode, oh, this is this product and this is its price. It adds that to your bill. Right? So it helps process the transaction. It's a system to help process your checkout transaction. And not only that, but now they could also, connect that to the inventory that's in the computer. And anytime an item gets sold, beep, one less Pixel cell phone is in inventory. So they could reduce inventory. And not only that, but now they could say, well, how quickly are we selling Pixel 8s? We have 100 in stock. We're selling one a day. So in 100 days, we're going to be out. Well, how long does it take us to order Pixel 8s? Well, when we place the order, it takes about a week for them to be here. So when we get down to 10 Pixel 8s in our inventory, let's place an order. That way, when we only have 3 left, right, it takes a week from the time we place the order until we get here, and then we're selling 1 a day. So if we place it when we have 10, and it takes a week, 7 days, right, and we're selling 1 a day, then when the new shipment comes in, we'll have 3 left in inventory. And when you're able to do that, you're able to decrease your storage, your inventory storage costs in a retail store. So you don't need as much space in the back of the warehouse just to hold inventory items, because your inventory can arrive just in time when you're about to run out of inventory on the shelves. And you no longer need to have 20-30% of your real estate storage space devoted to holding inventory so that you have products in stock, because you've now optimized and made it really efficient to have orders come in to your retail location just about when you're ready to run out of inventory. And that allows you to reduce your store's real estate costs significantly, 20-30%. And that allows you to pass savings on to your consumers, which allows you to become a more, desirable place for consumers to shop, which grows your market share and generates more revenue for you, all because you have this transaction processing system. So the system I just described to you is pioneered by Walmart, and it really allowed Walmart to gain market share and market dominance and do great. And so that's a transaction processing system. And then these other systems likewise help in business in different ways. A management information system, right, helps managers, make decisions and run things. A decision support system, again, helps people in businesses, usually a little bit higher up the organizational hierarchy, make decisions. And then an executive information system allows executives to see what's going on in their business and assist them in making more high-level decisions. And then there's a customer relationship management system, which allows a business to manage its relationships with customers, and CRM, so marketing campaigns, customer interactions. What's this customer, do they have a good reputation with us or a bad reputation? How much are they calling in and complaining? How much do they spend with us? So if a customer calls up and they're like, blah, 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 and you look and you're like, this person calls and complains every week, you could be like, okay, thank you, and, just kind of not really do anything. And if a customer calls in, they're like, blah, 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 and you look at their profile, your internal company profile, and you see, wow, this customer spends millions of dollars with us every year. Yes, sir. How can I help you, ma'am? Right? We're going to take care of this. So that's CRM, customer relationship management. And then we have supply chain management systems and enterprise resource planning systems and knowledge management systems. So all these systems, information systems, help us manage businesses. So that's this chapter. And I feel like we covered everything here really well. So I'm not going to go through these slides here. But I hope you enjoyed this, and with some really good information in this chapter. And databases are a lot of fun, so I encourage you, if it interests you at all, to check out our class here at the college covering databases. All right, have a great week. Maintain a positive attitude. Remember, no matter what the situation is, have an open mind, and look for the truth, and choose the positive response. Choose the light. Don't choose the darkness. Choose the light. Give people the benefit of the doubt. And assume, right, that they're coming from a place of good intentions. And because the more you assume that, the more you think good about people, the more likely they are to act good. And maintaining that positive attitude and having a good perspective and putting in that work every day, you're just going to advance in life. And so if you do those things, everything's going to be good. And find work that you love, help people, serve people, feed people, and everything's going to be fine. So that's all you got to do. And it's a joy to do it, to actually belong, to be part of a group and to help others and to have a positive attitude. So that's not stuff I always knew. And when I was younger, I struggled because I didn't know it. And so I'm passing that on to you because you have to learn it somewhere. I learned it somewhere. And maybe you know it already. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're just starting to learn it now. but it really was transformative for me to learn these principles. And it wasn't always easy. It's not always easy to not complain and moan and kvetch about how you wish things were different, right? But actually, when you get that positive mindset and you're just grateful for the blessings that you got, even if they aren't all the luxury items you might have thought would have been fun to have, you actually realize wealth, which is greater than any of those material possessions. And that wealth is just, that simple state of contentment for being grateful for what you got and the people that you got. And that carries you so far. So not necessarily the easiest, at least it wasn't for me, to get to that perspective. But I got there because people pointed it out to me, and I sought out teachings like that, and I learned those teachings, and that's a really positive, beneficial thing. And it's going to benefit you, and it's going to benefit people around you. So put in the work, have a positive attitude. You get to choose, right? Every moment, right? You could complain about it, or you could find good about it. And I know a lot of people, a lot of educated people who learned a lot of things about physics or chemistry, got doctorates, right? Or math or business, and they made a lot of money, but they weren't happy. And they weren't happy because they didn't learn this thing that I'm speaking to right here. And that thing is just you get to choose your perspective no matter what the circumstances. You get to choose your perspective, and you get to choose the light. You get to choose kindness. You get to choose to be positive. That's your choice, and you get to make it. And it's not always easy, but you can still do it. So sometimes it takes practice to get there. And anyhow, having somebody you could talk with about it too, is a good thing. Like, wow, like it's not always easy to choose that positive perspective. Help me choose it. Those kinds of things with a significant other in your life is really helpful. My cat just came in to say hello to me, or our family's cat. Come here, Tina. Hi, baby. I will have you meet her. This is Tina. And I'll see you next time.